As always, we're going to have a Spanish translation that will happen after we do. If there's any questions from the media that want to ask, we'll do those after. We'll always thank Paola, who is doing our ASL translation, and Alice from the Health Department, who will be doing our Spanish translation as well. I'm joined today by Monique de la Garza, who runs our city clerk's office and does really a great job with all of our just election management, and our coordinator, and that works with the county registrar's office and has a great relationship there. And so she's going to talk and give some details about the election. I'm also going to talk a little bit about it in just a minute, but I want to thank Monique and her team for being here. And before I get to the COVID-19 numbers, which we're going to talk about and kind of where things are at, I want to make some general statements and thoughts about the election. So the first thing I want to say is I just really want to thank the city of Long Beach and every single person that ensured that we had a peaceful and really positive day throughout Election Day and really leading up to it. We had no major incidents last night or throughout the day. All of our polling locations were safe, and our public safety personnel, our police officers, our firefighters really did a great job of preparing and planning for all scenarios that we were seeing really across the country as possibilities in this last election. We had an enormous amount of work went into our Emergency Management Operations Center. We wanted to ensure, first and foremost, that people could vote safely, that polls were open, that people felt comfortable going to vote. And of course, as important, that we didn't have any type of violence at all throughout Election Day. And all of those things were accomplished. I want to thank also members of the business community who we communicated with often throughout the last week or so just to ensure and got them information about what they needed to know to stay safe. And I want to, of course, just thank the entire team at the city for their hard work. Just yesterday, I was on a conference meeting with myself and our chief of police and Governor Newsom's office and the emergency management team at the statewide level, and we were reviewing our local plans leading up to the election. And they also, like many of us, were happy with our approach and felt really good about the way things were going here in the city. And so I want to thank them for the statewide support as well. And we were ready, of course, to call on additional support if we needed to. Moving forward, that doesn't mean that there isn't still a lot of anxiety and angst within our elections. I think in the next maybe day or so, it'll be very clear who the next president of the United States is. And we'll be concluding that national election very shortly. What we did conclude, though, is some of our city races and our city elections. I want to just start by thanking all of the voters for approving Measure US. That is a ballot measure that, of course, increases the tax on the production of oil, and that's not a tax that we paid for by residents. It's paid for by oil companies that are pulling taxes from oil, and that will go back into climate programs and climate protection. That is now the 11th ballot measure that has been adopted by voters in a row. In fact, all 11 measures that have been put in front of voters on behalf of the city have all passed. And I think that says a lot about people's trust in government. And while certainly they all pass at different passing rates, some closer than I would have liked and some in huge blowouts, I think overall there's a clear picture that voters in this city continue to trust their government. They continue to believe in the city, and I'm really thankful for them. I also want to congratulate what looks like our new members of the Long Beach City Council. Huge congratulations to Cindy Allen, who has clearly won her race in the 2nd District, and to Suli Saro in the 6th District, who also clearly has won her race. And then I want to congratulate Councilman Al Austin, who has been reelected to the Long Beach City Council, and he has been a great colleague and friend. And I think the three of them are going to be really great additions, and the continuation, of course, in Al Austin's case, for the City Council. So congratulations to all of them. While the races are not final through the clerk's office, certainly the races have been called, and the spread, of course, is pretty large for those to change. And I want to thank Vice Mayor DeAndrews for his service and continued service to the City of Long Beach in his election as well. There are also a Long Beach Unified School District and Long Beach City College race. Those races are a little closer than the council races. I assume that in the next day or two, it'll be very clear who won those races. And I want to congratulate everyone that ran in any election here in the city of Long Beach. And congratulations to all of you who voted and turned out in record numbers. Now I want to talk a little bit about what really continues to be our challenge. It was our big challenge before the election. It will continue to be after. And that's, of course, COVID-19. We're still in a pandemic, and the virus is still a real threat to us in Long Beach. We've lost 260 residents to COVID-19. And we have, to this date, 13,511 residents that have tested positive. Now, we continue to be, as a city, at a much better place than many of our other states and cities across the country, where you're seeing large increases in COVID cases. Here at Long Beach and LA County, we continue to remain, of course, in the purple tier. And while both our positivity rate and adjusted daily rate have actually slightly increased and increased some, we haven't seen yet any sort of huge spike, which would be very concerning. So we know that celebrations around the World Series, certainly we have some concerns about gatherings that may have happened around Halloween and leading up to Halloween. So those will have some impacts, as will, unfortunately, Thanksgiving and other holidays. But Long Beach remains a place that continues to really be much safer than other places, and I'm just very thankful. And let's continue, please, to be vigilant and to be responsible. This, of course, doesn't mean that anything additionally is able to open at this time. The state is in the driver's seat on what gets to reopen, and we have not yet met those metrics to move on to additional reopenings. I also want to remind everyone that it is flu season, and because it's flu season, we've always expected this to be a more difficult time. Other people are going to get sick. People are going to catch colds, the flu. There are other respiratory illnesses that come up around this time of year. And so because of that, we want to encourage people to get their flu shots. I got mine. It's free if you get one with the city. And flu shots are really, really important. We've also want to announce tonight that we're now doing dual testing at our COVID-19 sites. And so you can get tested for COVID, but we'll also, in some cases, test you for the flu to see if you have a certain seasonal flu strain, and to see if those two are somehow reacting some way with each other, since we still have a lot to learn around COVID-19. Having this information can help public health officials track the spread of both diseases here in our city and the general population, and will give our medical professionals really good data about who's being infected. So that's something you see at our testing sites. So please get your flu vaccine. We continue to post those and information on our health department when the next health department drive-thrus are. And I believe we have a drive-thru tomorrow from 3 to 6 at Vet Stadium for you can get vaccinated with the health department. So that's something that we continue to have those more and more. And so with that, I just want to, again, to all of our businesses, I know this is a very difficult time. It continues to be. We in Long Beach are being driven by safety and by the data coming out of the state. And things that continue to be reopened will be reopened because the state has allowed us and the rest of the county to reopen. So we are in a holding position. Let's stay and continue to be safe. And again, just thank you all for voting. A really great result. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Monique de la Garza, who will give us more of an elections update.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. We had an unprecedented voter response in Long Beach this year. Congratulations, Long Beach voters. We had 116,394 ballots that were dropped off at official drop boxes across Long Beach or returned by mail through the Postal Service. Another 16,372 voters cast their ballots in person at one of the 34 vote centers across Long Beach. By comparison, in 2016, there were 65,059 ballots returned by mail, and 104,132 voters cast their ballot in person. To facilitate the ease of voting this election cycle, we had 18 vote-by-mail drop boxes throughout the city of Long Beach and more than 30 vote centers for in-person voting in an 11-day period across the city. This 11-day period also included Election Day. I'm pleased to report that none of the vote centers experienced any technical difficulties, and as the mayor indicated, I want to thank the many people who voted. We didn't see long lines this election cycle, as were experienced in some other cities across the state and across the nation. The average wait time for the Long Beach voting centers was about 15 minutes at peak. You may have experienced a little bit longer wait time, but that was really an anomaly in the city of Long Beach. We're very proud to announce that the lines were just moving at a very good pace this election cycle. Safety precautions to prevent the spread of COVID were adhered to at each site. Voters wore facial coverings, physical distancing was practiced, and surfaces were sanitized routinely. In closing, I want to thank all the volunteers who staffed the polls and supported the election process. There were over 16,000 people who volunteered or worked at all the vote centers across LA County. Los Angeles County has until December 3rd to complete the official canvass, and the Registrar-Recorder County Clerk is tentatively scheduled to certify election results on November 30th. If you're looking for more information in the days to come, please visit longbeach.gov/cityclerk elections, or you can go to lavote.net. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We will now take media questions. First question comes from Haley at the Press Telegram. Go ahead, Haley.
Hi, Monique. I have two questions for you. First of all, do you have the percentage of registered voters or eligible voters in Long Beach who turned out? And second of all, what are your thoughts on why turnout was so much higher this year?
So I do have some preliminary numbers on the turnout. As of right now, and again, not all the ballots have been cast, but there's about 47% of the registered voters in Long Beach have voted. This is not as high as 2016. However, there are a lot of ballots yet to be counted, so I anticipate that that is going to be much, much higher. We're going to surpass the 62 or 63% turnout we experienced in 2016. And the question, what was your second question? I'm sorry. Why was the turnout so much higher? I think this election, LA County did a really good job of making voting easy, and people really were able to embrace the 11-day vote period, and everybody received a vote-by-mail ballot, which I think made it incredibly easy for people who may not have wanted to go out and vote in person to just drop it in one of the drop boxes around the county. So I really think that the county did a great job this election cycle making voting easier, and with both vote by mail and the vote centers.
Thank you. Next question comes from Kelly at the Long Beach Post. Go ahead, Kelly.
Yes, hi. Do we have the actual number of how many people registered to vote this election?
I do have that number. I don't know exactly off the top of my head. I know that there are approximately 280,000 vote-by-mail ballots mailed out to Long Beach voters. At last count, I believe there was a little bit under that were registered voters. So that's not to say that we might not, we're not taking into account the people who did same-day voter registration.
All right, that concludes questions. Now we will move on to Spanish interpretation.
Muy buenas tardes. Gracias por acompañarnos esta tarde. Esto es nuestro resumen del 4 de noviembre. Hoy estamos el día después de las elecciones de 2020. Nomás queremos agradecerle a nuestra ciudad por toda la paciencia y claro que sabemos que en este año nuestros números de residentes que se registraron y votaron subsalieron a todos los años. En las semanas previas, antes de esta elección, no experimentamos ninguna actividad que comprometa la votación. No hubo informes de ningún buzón de votación que tuvieran problemas o incendios como hubo en otros lugares del país. El día de las elecciones también fue tranquilo, gracias a la gran cantidad de personas que votaron temprano y que también pudieron votar por correo, dejando las boletas en un buzón o visitando un centro de votación. No vimos largas colas como vimos en otras partes del país. Mientras que esperamos que lleguen los resultados de las elecciones, tanto a nivel nacional, estatal como local, les recomendamos a las personas que continúen siendo tranquilas y pacientes. Esperamos que muy pronto, tal vez hoy o mañana, en los próximos días, tengamos ya el cuento final para ver quién va a ser nuestro próximo presidente también. Todos los departamentos que están trabajando juntos en la ciudad de Long Beach localmente, especialmente en nuestra oficina de la alcaldía, el departamento de policía, han aportado el personal, nuestros trabajadores de la ciudad y todos los recursos adicionales para mantener una presencia visible en toda la ciudad y proporcionar un mayor compromiso con las empresas y también los miembros de la comunidad. Para mantenerse más al tanto con información y datos sobre todo lo que tenga que ver con la elección, por favor visite a nuestra página de web, Long Beach City, en Facebook, Instagram y Twitter. Ahí hay más datos también si necesitan más información. Si bien hemos visto ningún malestar, animamos a todos que permanezcamos atentos. Si ve algo que no se ve bien, digan o reporten. Pueden llamar al número 562-435-6711 para información si no es algo como de emergencia o si sí es una emergencia, siempre pueden marcar el número 911. Sabemos que algunos negocios sí se han cerrado o embarcado con paneles de madera. La ciudad de Long Beach alienta a todas las empresas a tener planes de emergencia por si es que se ocurre algo o hay alguna emergencia. La ciudad también ha estado preparándose con precaución para cualquier desarrollo que pudiera afectar a la ciudad de Long Beach y queremos mantener seguros a las personas y empresas de nuestra ciudad. Nos hemos estado preparando desde el principio de septiembre, activamos nuestro centro de operaciones de emergencia y nuestro departamento de policía entró a una alerta táctica de etapa 2 el sábado 31 de octubre. Con cada incidente importante que ocurre en la ciudad, buscamos formas para mejorar nuestra respuesta. Como saben, desde que empezó todo esto, vamos aprendiendo porque estamos en tiempos muy diferentes que antes. Inmediatamente después de la noche del 31, el Departamento de Policía comenzó a capacitarse en varios niveles y coordinándose y planeando bien muchos ejemplos para tener seguridad. Valoramos y protegemos absolutamente el derecho de la primera enmienda, que significa que somos libres para protestar cuando queramos, no más que claro, queremos que todos estén seguros y que no haya violencia. Nuevamente no tenemos ninguna información ahora que indique alguna amenaza para nuestra ciudad, pero queremos asegurarles al público que estamos preparados. Estamos muy orgullosos de nuestros residentes y gracias por su paciencia y calma y por ejercer su derecho de voto en cifras nunca antes vistas. También queremos, claro, hoy darles nuestro reporte de nuestros números del COVID-19, que sabemos que los queremos tener al tanto con todo eso reciente. Hoy también vemos que queremos informarles que hasta la fecha 13,511 residentes han dado positivo al COVID-19. También desde hoy 12,688 personas se han recuperado del virus y lamentablemente hemos perdido a 260 personas al COVID-19. Esta semana el condado de Los Ángeles, que incluye Long Beach y Pasadena, permanece el nivel morado que indica un riesgo generalizado de transmisión. Nuestra tasa diaria ajustada de casos es el 7.5 por cada 100,000. La tasa de positividad es 4% y la positividad de las pruebas en las áreas de menores recursos métricas, que la métrica de equidad de la salud, es 6.8%. La tasa de positividad del condado nos coloca en el nivel naranjo y la tasa de casos en el nivel morado. Long Beach sigue teniendo un seguimiento bajo a comparación del condado de Los Ángeles, pero es probable que esto se deba a reuniones. Long Beach sigue teniendo un seguimiento más bajo que el condado de Los Ángeles en general, pero también hemos visto unos pocos aumentos en nuestra tasa de casos y por eso creemos que eso se ha debido a las razones que han visto recientemente, especialmente con este fin de semana pasado, celebraciones, la gente está en la calle, afuera celebrando o reuniéndose en grupos más grandes y está reuniéndose juntos tal vez adentro en vez de al lado de afuera de la casa o al aire libre. Otras tendencias que estamos viendo y notando es aumentado de la demanda de pruebas. Es importante que si las personas que buscan pruebas, si creen que podrían haber estado expuestos al COVID-19, les estamos recomendando que por favor hagan una cita o algunos sitios que también no necesitan cita. Es muy importante si ha estado expuesto o le avisan que ha estado junto a alguien que sí es positivo, es muy importante que se hagan la prueba del COVID-19 también. Seguimos teniendo citas, es muy importante conectarse con sus amigos y familiares. Entendemos que es difícil, especialmente ahorita que ya llegan el tiempo de celebrar estas cosas festivas, pero hemos publicado pautas también y recolección más en nuestra página de longbeach.gov/COVID-19. Y recuerden que limiten el número de personas con las que se reúnan, no más de 3 familias al mismo vez, reunirse al aire libre y siempre cubriéndose la cara. Y limitar la duración de la visita. Y claro, no compartir comidas o tenedores y cucharas y cosas así. Dicho esto, queremos enfatizar que cada vez que se reúnen otros, existen algún riesgo. Recuerden mucho, sabemos que deseamos estar con nuestros amigos y familiares, especialmente en estos días, y que va a haber vacaciones, pero queremos que todos sigan haciendo todo y priorizando nuestra seguridad para ustedes, sus familias y nuestras comunidades. También hoy nos acompañó nuestra secretaria, Monique de la Garza, que ella es la secretaria de la ciudad. El resumen nos dio hoy el resumen de votación. Tuvimos una respuesta de votantes sin precedentes en Long Beach este año. Más de 1,016,000 personas votaron por correo este año y 16,000 votaron en persona. En comparación con hace 4 años, en el 2016, 65,000 fueron por correo y 104,000 votaron en persona. Para facilitar el acceso de la votación, tuvimos centros de votar en persona aquí en Long Beach y todo. Nos complace mucho en informarles que no hubo ningún problema. La gente no esperó más de 15 minutos en las líneas. Y el tiempo de espera, otra vez como no más de 15 minutos. Sabemos que a veces en las noticias miraban que habían muchas líneas grandes, pero aquí afortunadamente en nuestra ciudad de Long Beach no fue así. En cada sitio se siguieron las precauciones de seguridad para prevenir la propagación de COVID-19. Los votantes no dieron problemas, todos estaban usando sus coberturas faciales, se practicó el distanciamiento físico, se estaba desinfectando las superficies con desinfectante constantemente cada vez que alguien usaba una de las máquinas, y queremos agradecer a todos los voluntarios que formaron parte del personal de las urnas y apoyaron el proceso electoral. Se les agradece mucho por toda su ayuda. El Condado de Los Ángeles tiene hasta el 3 de diciembre para completar los boletos oficial. Y si quiere más información, también puede ir a nuestra página de la ciudad, longbeach.gov/city-clerk/elections, a esa página para agarrar más información. También recuerden que todavía están dando las vacunas contra la gripe. Puede tener más información. Mañana se llevarán a cabo en el colegio de Long Beach City College en Vet Stadium, y el sábado también se llevarán a cabo otra vez en la high school, en Cabrillo High School. Es todo por hoy, toda nuestra información. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos esta tarde. Que tengan un buen día. Thank you so much for joining us. It's all for today.